Welcome to episode 18 of this 52-week creative heart prompt journey. This is exciting every week for me to see how we move through the amount of episodes and the infinite possibilities that creativity and a creative heart can bring you. So if you think that you have a creative heart, or you question if you have a creative heart, this channel might be for you, because I'm here as a creatively fit coach to tell the world that we are all creative. And I sort of attempt to try and show you guys as a self-taught artist how you can teach yourself by practicing creative little exercises every week and develop your creative intelligence, right? So this week our creative heart prompt is to create your own collage elements by using tissue paper and then staining it with inks. So if you want to know how to do that, this episode is for you, because we are going to create this beautiful page in our art journal using some of my tissue papers that I created today, and I will show you how. So give me a second as I turn my camera around and then we will get started. Thanks for watching. Hi, my name is Gideon. I'm also known as Gideon's Light. Welcome to my studio, and I'm your creatively fit coach. So join me now. Right, so today I'm going to show you guys how you can use ordinary tissue paper and turn it into a fabulous collage element. And like I've shown you in previous episodes, because I do like to use tissue print as collage elements, I mean, look at this beautiful artwork. Always just remember to pull off the backing. There's usually two plain white sheets behind your printed one that you can use as collage elements by playing with your acrylic inks on your tissue paper. So I'm going to show you today. It's really very simple. What you will need is your acrylic inks. But if you don't have acrylic inks and you only have heavy body acrylic paint, you can dilute this paint with some water, and I also use a little bit of acrylic pouring medium just to dilute it. Obviously you will lose a little bit of your intensity because you're diluting the pigment quite a bit. In this case I used gold, because I did want a little bit of a gold, and I don't have any gold sprays or gold ink at the present moment, and I really want to add a little bit of a metallic gold element to my tissue paper. So what you will need is a little bit of a plastic. You can see I've got plastic here. It's just some of those plastic that I get from the stationery store in order to cover up school books. So it's not really something expensive, and I just cut it in a usable sheet that I can pick up, because this is the thing. When you're going to wet your tissue paper, it becomes extremely flimsy and it can tear easily. So you need to be able to put this somewhere to dry. And also because it's plastic, it will prevent your acrylic paint from sticking to it. So if you're going to use paper, that might be a problem. So the plastic just gives you that resist so that you are able to pull off the tissue paper from the plastic once the acrylic inks has dried on your tissue paper. So without any further ado, I've got a whole variety of acrylic inks here. And I also have some shimmer sprays from Dilutions. So I got all sort of my magentas and purples and violets together, and on the other side I've got some blues and browns. So I want to play with that. So the first step would be to get all of your materials out, and I'm just going to use a water spray bottle, and you're going to mist your tissue paper with a considerable amount of water, because you want your acrylic inks to be able to flow on your tissue paper, and for that you will need water. Now I do like it when my tissue paper crinkles up a little bit on me, so it creates interesting texture. And let's start off on this journey that we have here with some of my older acrylic inks. It's a great way to use up materials that you have a lot from, and you might not have projects that you can use it on anymore. So that's a great way to sort of finish up old tubes of color or old bottles of ink without losing out on anything. This is also a magenta, but it's a different brand. So let's see, it's pretty much the same. Okay, enough of that. What do we have here? We have a dioxazine violet. So that's quite deep, but before I use that one, I've got an old one. Let's finish the old stock first. That's been sitting on my shelves for a long time. So I'm also trying to see how I can combine my colors here in an interesting way. And then we add even more water, because you want this ink to move a little bit. And of course, water is a great medium in order to move your ink. What else have I got here? That's enough of that. Let's add a little bit of cat red. So we're doing an analogous color scheme here. That simply means that all of these colors that you are adding to your tissue paper is found next to each other on the color chart, and therefore they will complement each other, and that's always great. So they are literally sitting here next to each other on the color wheel. Let me add a little bit more water. Yes, I'm coming a little bit closer with my spray, and this will continue to sort of flow into the tissue paper as it continues. What else have we got here? A mauve. Mauve is beautiful. It's more like a maroony, kind of mauvey purple. So there's no really big hard brain science after this. It really is just playful expression. Throw some paint and see where that takes you. This is my process magenta, so I can go in here and maybe squirt a bit more. There's always space for more, right? Let's add a bit more water. So you can see why you will need a plastic backing, because there's quite a bit of water on this tissue now, and I can use the plastic now in order to move the water so that these colors mix a little bit and we don't have such a stagnant sitting there on one spot. Let me just move this back. That's awesome. Oopsie daisy. Quite a bit of water. So have some kitchen towels handy, because you might need to dab some of that. I'm just trying to move this ink into this corner on this side of my page. Let's dab a bit of water off here very gently, because the tissue paper is very vulnerable now. Right. I want to add a little bit of this gold that I mixed in my little cup. So I'm just going to go ahead and splatter it on here with my paintbrush. So you can see really it's not rocket science. It's just fun. A messy fun. But we like that. And then last but not least, I'm going to play with my red shimmer spray. Of course there is a bit of shimmer in there. Oh, it looks like my nozzle is blocked. How charming. I'm gonna have to, there we go, finally. Just have a little bit of lift off there. And I think that's enough because that's quite intense, right? Alrighty then, so I've got a whole lineup of these materials ready. So I'm going to move this one to the side so that it can dry. And I'll be right back. Oh my goodness, too much water on this one. I'm just going to put this down. There we go. Right, so next step is our next one. And I've got a clear sheet of plastic ready to roll and one of my tissues, and you can see there's some of a print still on there from the one that I pulled this off from. So let's begin with activating it with a bit of water. I think I might use a little bit of less water this time, but in the beginning it's hard, eh? It's hard to see if you've got enough water on there to move the ink until it starts to pull together. So for this one I'm going to play with the browns and the blues. So let's begin with the browns, and this brown is quite intense. This is a Van Dyke brown by Dollar and Ronnie. Oh sorry, I'm sorry, it's an Antelope brown, which is quite beautiful. It's like a golden, green golden brown. It's also quite intense. So let's give each of these a bit of a mist of water. Now let's add a little bit of turquoise. Turquoise will go very well together. And because you've got these intense colors from the inks, they will really color these tissue papers quite beautifully. We're going to definitely give this one some space to flow. Let's add more blue. This is a very dark blue, almost like a phthalo blue, or a, what shall we call it, ultramarine maybe. I just know it's quite intense. I like that. What have we got here? Also a brown, but it's a different brown. It's got a bit more of a chocolatey vibe to it. So let's add it up there. Maybe some down here. And I've got a big mess on my table because I knocked over my gold. So I'm going to go ahead and print with this little bottle here before I mop up my watery mess. That's why it's so important to have plastic down, so that when these oopsies happen, you know, you gotta love a Mercury retrograde, right? It's currently a Mercury retrograde, and you know what? Mercury does love to give you a little bit of surprises, and I guess we always have the opportunity to see it as an opportunity or a surprise, or both. Now this is a vanilla custard spray, so it's very gold. I'm gonna add some down here at the bottom, and then this is the blue shimmer spray. I'm gonna add some at the top there. That's nice. And then last but not least, as I save my ink bottles from my pool of paint that is running down my table. Thanks, Mercury. I think I'm just going to add a few drops of white ink for a little bit of ooh la la, some contrast. That's nice. So let's add a little bit more water to just help them move. And now I'm going to put this aside and we're going to do one more. Right, let's try a third one, just to show you guys again how awesome this can be. Let's start by wetting our tissue paper. And I'm going to show you guys how I integrate one of these in my art journal just now. I'm going to put these in the sun to dry. I started with a vanilla custard shimmer spray, and I think I'm going to add a little bit of the mauve through the middle. Oh, that already sort of looks like a painting. Some kind of flower. Some magenta down here looks beautiful. And let's go towards the blues at the top here. So that will turn slightly green over the yellow. And what else shall we add? Let's add some of the red down here. Just a little bit, so it might do a little bit of an orange vibe. Especially if we add a bit more of the custard spray on top of it. And let's add some white here as well. Nice. Oh, I love the titanium white of Dollar and Ronnie inks because it's quite intense. Most of the other whites that I've tried is very disappointing because it doesn't have enough opacity. So it might be an affordable ink, but not worth your money really, unless you like a little bit of a see-through white. But anyway, so I'm going to leave this so that its magic can happen. And I do quite like how the cells are sort of keeping the tissue paper into these little interesting folds, and the inks will then settle into these little shapes. So that's going to be very exciting to see what we end up with. Let's add a dash of this last drop of gold that is left in this cup that I've specially created for today, and then ended up spilling most of it on the table. There we have a little bit of la-di-da. So I'm going to put this outside in the sun to dry, and then when I come back I'm going to show you guys how I pull it off this plastic, and then what it looks like, and then maybe utilize it in one of my art journal pages. So I'll see you guys right now. Just wanted to come and show you. I've placed my papers outside in the sun so that it can dry. You can see that my first one is really wet. And here where I used a little bit less, water, I didn't sort of run the whole dam of water over it. Right, so our tissue paper is finally dry. It is so exciting to get it back from outside, out of the sun, so you can see it's light and airy now. And all you have to do now is basically just very gently remove it from the plastic, and you can always use this plastic again because this is acrylic paint that's now dry. So that can be put aside, and look at these beautiful colors, and you still have the translucency of tissue paper but the vibrancy of ink, and this can just be such a beautiful element to use in your art. Let's look at this one. Oh, that's nice. So on the top side it looks like this. It really has a material kind of feeling. There is some of the gold that we see. This is that one that was extremely wet. But look on the other side where it made contact with the plastic. It really gave us a bit of a shine. So I mean, you can use either side. That is really interesting. It almost looks like leather or something, snake skin. Let's put that plastic aside. And here's the last one. It almost reminds me of the sea and some sand. You know, somebody's mind always wants to make sort of sense of an abstract pattern. Isn't that beautiful? I absolutely love how this came together. And also on the other side it's even richer because all the gold has sunk to the bottom, and with the plastic in the background it is dried in a shiny kind of way on the other side and a matte kind of way on this side. So I mean, either way you can use it, but I do like that sort of glamour of the paper on this side. Let's see. Yes, the same with this one. It's like on the other side you see some of the gold has sunk through to the bottom. But I must say in this case I do like this side a little bit more, especially for what we're going to do next. So it is time to play in our art journal. And I sort of opened up on this page where there's still a bit of color, and I drew some other collage elements from my stash, and I paged through a National Geographic, and isn't this just beautiful? This picture with the sea, what do you call these things? I'm just going to call them sea plant animals. I can't remember the name, but anyway, it's really beautiful. So I definitely want to use some of this. And I've got some of my old paper with some glitter on it. And this piece of tissue came back to visit today with the seahorses and the corals. So I'm definitely, this is where my inspiration sort of got a new direction. This is a gift bag with this almost like a paint kind of effect with some glitter. So this can also be pretty. I pulled this out of my previous stash, so I think this is also very useful. And then some plain paper to play with. So I want to put something together in this art journal using this page, and starting with the seahorse and the coral, and then maybe continue to mimic an undersea kind of scene, but with surprising color palette. We're not going to use typical blues and so forth and greens that we would normally expect under the water. We're going to play with a warm color palette today. So let's get sticking down some papers. Right, so this page is finally coming together. I don't know about you, but this Mercury retrograde now in April, May is rather intense in my life, and everything feels like it's taking a lot more effort, and I guess it is an opportunity to practice patience and just breathing deeply when things don't always go your way, but that is okay. I'm going to trim off these edges as soon as this page is really dry, but I think it's time to add the final little elements. I think I must make this one even smaller, or otherwise it must overlap here a little bit. Like I said, this page is already quite thick, but that's okay. It just means there's a lot more to look at. I nearly forgot this main inspiration piece because my desk was a little bit cluttered, and I started to really get into creating this little coral with that other gift bag kind of paper. But I think, I'm just going to stick this right over everything with a bit of glue here, and then I'm just going to use my jelly roll pen just to bring some emphasis to some of the layers. But I think overall this page did come together quite nicely, and it all got started this morning when we created our own translucent tissue paper with our inks, and that was quite a lot of fun. I'm just gonna push that down into the fold of my page so that that is accommodated well. It's okay to have some thick pages in your art journal. Sometimes that becomes the most beautiful, so everything in life doesn't have to be perfect, and we come to our art journals to practice that perfect imperfection and make space for that in our lives, because I think sometimes we miss the beauty that can be brought together with imperfect perfect. But those who don't dare won't win. So we definitely dared today. For me, it was like saying to Mercury retrograde, you will not be the boss of me. I see you as an opportunity, and I intentionally persist to flow forward and revisit any ideas, limiting beliefs, or experiences from the past that I need to readdress, and this has definitely been one of those retrogrades. So I'm going to continue just to play with my jelly roll pen here. Let me just sort of show you what I mean. I think that corner is a bit loud, so so I'm using the white pen here, so we can just go around some of these edges and just integrate it with a page and bring some importance to it. And just integrate the layers by just following the outline and just giving it a little bit more importance. And I sort of like the way that it finishes off a page if you just do some line work. And I'm just using my white jelly roll pen here. And you don't have to do all of them, you you can just do some of them. So that's nice. I like that. You see, that just brings that forward a little bit, so it stops there with that element. Let's do one more here and just create a little coral tree. That looks fun, beautiful, pretty. And this way you really integrate things. So I will let this dry, and then when it's completely dry I'll come back and trim off these edges and have another look at it. But I'm actually quite happy with how everything came together with this undersea landscape. So I hope you guys also enjoyed creating your own tissue paper using acrylic ink, and I'm interested to see how you will utilize that in your art journal or on your canvas, or even just on a piece of paper to play with. The whole idea is for you to activate your creative heart and to see that to be creative doesn't take a lot. It just takes a little bit of play, experimentation, and an open mind. So I'm looking forward to seeing that application. So I will see you guys again next week, and from next week we're gonna start playing with the elements, and we're looking at earth, fire, water, air, metal, wood. All of these elements are going to be our prompt and inspiration to continue to play and grow in our creative skill, and also finish up our art journal. So I'll see you again next week for another episode. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye for now. And there you have it. We have created our own tissue paper by staining it with acrylic ink today, and used it to create this interesting page in our art journal. I really hope that you also enjoy this technique, and I'm looking forward to seeing how you will implement it in your art journal or on your canvas. So please join my Creative Heart group and share images of your art using this week's Creative Heart prompt. Thank you for watching, and bye bye for now.